when we announce government changes, like, do you ever just throw your hands up in the air? Like, I'm thinking specifically like the capital gains thing. Like, that must have really shooken the boat for you guys. Like, do these other changes also kind of throw you guys for a loop?
Yeah, gonna go smoke meat for a living. So yeah, it's not the like one change, it's the death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, no doubt.
You wake up every day and you just don't know if the game has changed, right? The short-term rentals, you look at what
Yeah,
that's done to Kelowna. I think I saw a post the other day that the Fix Cafe was just shutting down, and they
yeah.
cited one of the reasons, lower tourism. I think they might have even said that the short-term rental stuff was part of that cause. And man, I don't know why Kelowna is doing this.
It's amazing because it's not even the province; it's our city that's doing it.
Yeah, I think that might change. I think that
I
pendulum might
agree.
swing
I
back.
agree.
I'm hopeful it will. They're starting to realize it a little bit more now that it's a problem, and BC's behind on their housing start goals, which everybody knew they would be, but it's even a little bit farther behind than they thought they would be. That gap between where we are for starts and what our targets are is not going to be narrowing over the next few years. It's going to be widening as the deals don't make sense, and they don't make sense in the vast majority of circumstances. So, supply is really going to dwindle over the next few years, and we need to roll back so much of this regulation. It's getting crazy, including on the building code side and
Yeah,
what
I'm
that's
surprised
doing.
more people don't bring this up. The building code thing.
Like with accessibility.
Well, just all the things.
That's just one. Yeah, I'm all about accessibility and taking care of the people that have challenges, right? But there's certain ways to go about this, and there's certain ways that are complete wastes of money. I was speaking with a developer. His big comment was, you know, every unit, we're going to have to make these bathrooms huge. Every unit. He's like, Justin, we're going to have a dance floor in the bathroom. And you're thinking, man, oh, it's sad that we don't have housing for families. Well, it would be helpful to have some more space for bedrooms if you didn't have the dance floor in the bathroom, right? And that
Yeah,
doesn't mean that you don't need to accommodate folks with mobility issues, on certain floors, or maybe even instead of imposing these restrictions or codes to make 100% of the units accessible, you throw cash at whatever unit somebody with mobility issues wants to move into and just target it more instead of just making these sweeping changes that add inefficiency to the whole process. And ultimately, there's just going to be fewer houses built.
Yeah. And I think that's the main point, right? Like a lot of these sweeping legislation changes are not really thought out long term, right? The cause and effect of it. 100% agree. Like obviously, accessibility has to be thought of, but maybe on a percentage basis of usage of the building.
it's funny because every single person we talk to that knows anything about this says we need to build more houses. We need to build more houses, and then all these rules that come down basically just target the developer and the people building more houses. It's just like it doesn't make any sense. Like it should be easier to put more to market, right? Instead of making it
Yeah.
just harder and harder.
I had a friend a little while ago get approval on a large residential rental development. And I heard about it through LinkedIn. There was a news article on it. Hey, this project is going ahead. And everyone was excited. The counselors were talking about how excited they were about it. I forwarded the article to my contact and said, hey, congratulations on getting this city approval. What a milestone. And he literally sends back one sentence, and it said, Justin, the true milestone will be getting the pro forma to work. And I'm like, man, that just encapsulates exactly what's happening in the development space right now. Cities can approve all they want. They're not beyond the laws of math, though. Math is the final arbiter of whether a project proceeds or not, or at least perceived math.
Yeah,
Because a pro forma isn't actuals, they're all projections.
yeah.
And if you feel like your projections are reasonable and it still puts out a decent return that you're okay with, the project proceeds. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then you've thrown another one on where, okay, 2021, 2, 3, we bring in unprecedented numbers of immigrants. The politicians get word that people aren't so into that and probably aren't going to vote for them if this proceeds. And quite frankly, it was too much.
Yeah.
But the pendulum swings back the other way to where you're like, okay, well, now we're going to have net zero.
Yeah. Now we're going to have population decline.
Yeah. And so you're looking at these pro formas. If you're a developer in Kelowna looking at a pro forma, you're having to make assumptions that are going to dictate whether you proceed or not. One of the key assumptions are what are the current rents in the market and how much are those rents are going to grow by the time that my project delivers. And 2, 3 years ago, quite common for you to see, 2.5, 3.5, 4% rent growth built in year by year on these pro formas to get to a number to make the developer say, yeah, let's move forward. What do you use for a number if the taps get turned off on immigration? What do you use? Like the supply is going to drop off a cliff unless we find some other way. Either A, you believe that your revenues at the rents are going to go up to justify all of the increased costs that you've had, construction costs, development cost charges, and your amenity cost charges, right? All of these things. Or you have to lower your costs. And then you got to say, okay, well, which part of the stack here is going to get lower? Is labor costs getting lower? No. Plus, we're not even letting people into the country anymore to actually build the stuff, right? So you're starting to look, what gives. And I think that there's a growing portion of the development industry that's pushing back on at least the development charges. Everyone sees that, okay, they can cost as much as 25, 30% of the cost of a development. Let's stop taxing real estate like tobacco, right?
Yeah.
I did a post the other day, stop taxing our real estate like our children's Halloween candy. Like,
Yeah.
something's got to give. Something's got to give. And I hope that at least a part of the solution is something on the development cost charges, the municipal fees, because, lower interest rates will give some relief, not enough to make these projects go. That's a place where the needle can be moved. And I know the cities can be in a bit of a tough spot too, and I feel for them a little bit, but it's one of those situations where, do you want zero? Because that's what you're going to get if we don't figure this out.
Yeah. Yeah.